My name is Tuarari, and me and my classmate Edward decided to do this video on how authority is used as a tactic in persuasion. And our points and references will be referring to the book The Psychology of Persuasion by Robert Cialdini. What is this topic about? What is this tactic about? The tactic is authority, and this chapter basically informs us and tells us that human beings can go to dangerous extremes when in obedience to authority figures. When an authority figure tells you to do something, you definitely do it, and many people will not question it, and they will just do it blindly without even asking themselves if this is the right thing to do. And even when they realize that it is the wrong thing to do, they will still continue doing it because an authority figure said this is what, as we grew up, we had always been told, listen to authority. Our culture and our religion has groomed and programmed us to listen to authority without question. My next point will be on how is authority as a tactic demonstrated in our day-to-day lives. Like, how do we see it happening in our lives? So Robert Cialdini talks about some 3 symbols of authority that influence people to obey or to do what authority figures want. The 3 symbols of authority that Robert Cialdini tells us. And the first one is titles, the second one is clothes, and the last one is trappings. The first one being titles are basically the titles that people are accorded. For example, director of an organization, or a teacher, or a lecturer. These titles give us a perception of authority, and when someone has a title, we tend to obey. Second is clothes. Clothes clothes are associated with influence. Something like a well-tailored business suit will give us the perception of influence. And conmen really use this thing to their advantage, because the conmen these days, they are very smart. They are always wearing this good, 3-piece suits to come, and they're always wearing these 3-piece suits because they know that when someone sees my 3-piece suit, they will think that I am an authority figure. And when I tell them to do something, they will be more inclined to do it than if I was wearing normal clothes like a shirt and a pair of jeans, right? The last symbol is trappings. Trappings could be anything from expensive clothing and jewelry to luxury cars, your luxurious cars. They carry a perception of status and authority and position. We have strengths and weaknesses of everything, and for this, the strengths are as follows. Number 1 strength is that authority empowers a team of people to generate ideas. You see, when you have an authority figure, them imposing the authority on a team can empower them to generate ideas. And the second point is that authority figures can be able to make people achieve set goals. The next point is that authority can be used to revive team spirit. So my classmate Edward will continue with the weaknesses.
So, hello to you all. I'm carrying on from where Faith has left off. My name is Edward Muchiri. I'll be taking you through the weaknesses of the tactic presented, in this case, the use of authority. Let's get into it. So, my first point is when authority falls into the wrong hands, it can be used for malicious purposes. For example, you could think of a period after post-colonial Africa. There was oppression during this particular time, and by doing this, it compromised so many human rights, such as right to life through assassinations, freedom of expression through so many people being shut down when they tried to speak against the tyrannical governments. Therefore, I say that using authority in a wrong way can perpetrate so many things. Second point is that by use of authority, it can be used to start very malicious propagandas. For example, in Nazi Germany in 1935, we could see that Hitler propagated that the Jews were responsible for the problems of the present-day Germany, and in this case, it led to so much hate towards the Jews. And during the war period in Second World War, it is reported that 6 million Jews approximately were killed during this time. My third and last point is that authority, by using sub-tactics such as clothing and other persuasive tactics, you can be able to con a lot of people. For example, Pastor Kanyari was responsible for stealing or looting a lot of money from his congregation, which is a sad turn of events, because when you consider the congregation did not have a choice but to give, simply because the pastor had authority to do whatever he pleases simply because it was his worship place. And by using these kind of tactics, it's kind of bad to think that some people will oppress others. So I would suggest that we use our critical thinking well and judge situations as they should be and question the ethics of our leaders. Now, my final critique of this entire tactic is that I agree with what Robert Cialdini says in general. Robert Cialdini outlines that there is a consequence when you do not do something, as well as you have to do what you're told regardless. Simply because you can't judge, but you have to. For example, when we use the example of the doctor and the intern, an intern cannot correct a doctor simply because the doctor has more authority over him. When in this case, a misdiagnosis could easily be put forward. As well as the Bible, it shows that there are consequences in not obeying. For example, Adam and Eve were chased out of the Garden of Eden because they had been told not to eat from the forbidden tree, but they went ahead and did it anyway. In conclusion, I'd like to say that we should use authority to the best level possible. Using authority is good in boosting the morale of others, but it can also be detrimental to so many others as well. So I suggest that we rethink what we do, question the ethics of our leaders and ourselves as well when we are given various tactics or various positions to lead.